I've learned a lot, man. I've grown so much. I've learned so much. I think the way that I relate to people has changed a lot. I think because of this whole traumatic experience that I've been through, I have a different level of understanding for those around me. I'm less judgmental. I feel like I can see the other side of the coin before I jump to conclusions. I think there's a lot of good things that have come from this. You know, everything that I've learned. I mean, geez, woodwork. You know, like building a house, paint. I mean, there's a lot of things that I learned. You know, I had to keep myself from really losing it. Was kind of looking at that growth that I've gained from it. It's not a complete loss. So because of that, I think I've been able to achieve that place of peace that I was talking about, and even forgiveness for them. You know, like I can understand in their psychotic, you know, irrational way, like where they're coming from, because that's all they really know. It's literally kind of like a mental disorder that they're experiencing, and because they can't see outside of that box that they live in is their world. The laws that abide within that world is what they follow. And you know, they're told to go left, they go left. They're told to go squiggly, they go squiggly. And that's the unfortunate thing about a group like that. And it's dangerous in that way, because then you got people following blindly to a leader that can literally dictate every moment of your life, every aspect of your life, of your relationships, your family, your children. And I think it's important that we see that, you know. So anyways, like where I'm at now, I just want to speak, I guess, to my son, my daughters. Like, I'm doing what I have to do right now so that I could see them, and that they can grow up knowing me and being with me in whatever capacity that I'm allowed to. Because being in prison, I would not be allowed to see them. You know, at least with this plea, this probation available, I'd be able to be there for them in as much of a capacity as I can be. And I want them to know that that's my main purpose of being out here, is to create a functional and sustainable environment for them to be in, you know. But daddy has to take a hit, not only for himself, but he has to take a hit for a lot of other people. And I think this is kind of the beginning of unraveling that that thread. You know, there's a thread that's on that sweater. We're pulling on it, and it just takes one good pull, and that whole thing's gonna unravel, and we're gonna see the truth behind everything. And my kids will know. My son knows me, and anybody who I've ever known there and I loved and I was close to there knows the real me. And it's fucking profound. Like it's insane how easily an entire congregation could change their opinion of you based on one man's word. So I have to remember that it's not necessarily them and how they feel about me, or them and how they're doing something to me, or how I'm being set up for this or set up for that. Like, I got to stop looking at it like that. I just got to take responsibility for what's in front of me, and that's what I'm doing. I'm here. I'm taking responsibility because they're asking me to take responsibility, whether I did this or not. That they don't give a shit. You know, I'm an innocent man, but they don't give a shit. So they're looking at it. We don't know if you did this or not, but you have to take a fall for something. You know, like the courts have to save face, and then it sucks. It really fucking sucks, because and I'm not just saying, I'm one of the most loving, caring, you know, I consider other people's feelings. Like I put everybody before myself in my entire life, and that's been one of my downfalls. I think, is putting people before me so much and not taking the time to see, okay, who's Danny, who's Grey Wolf, what does he need, what do I need? You know, I'm so busy worrying about other people, and that's one of the major things that I've learned about myself through this process. And I think it's making me a better person, because now I'm able to speak up for myself again, and I'm able to express my needs in a balanced and healthy way. And I'm noticing that in my relationships, just in the way people respond to me and the way that I respond to people. I think there's a much more respectful professional with people that I work with. Relationship, it's solid, and I want to continue that. I'm not gonna be able to do that in prison. And yeah, my kids need me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you don't have visiting rights, even limited, once a month, which would be a great thing, let alone more often than that.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna be able to work that out. Um, Me being able to see my biological children. Um, that's all it's ever been about, man. Like even joining this group. They told me we're gonna take care of it. You'll be able to see your kids. Didn't happen. I got married to Eleonora, and then they cut me off. That didn't happen at all. As soon as I got married, it was like that was it. That was the last time I spoke to my girls.
Hmm.
Um, and that sucked. And then when I left this group, my main priority was setting up a life for my child. Um, I, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I had a lot of help coming out. Thank goodness for Josh and Sanskrita. They set up that whole that fund for me when I got out. Because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to get on my feet as quick as I did. But because of that, and thank you to you for donating to that. That was amazing of you, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
I needed a
and
donation when I left, so
yeah, yeah. So you know the struggle, Um, here's the thing. I'm a pretty freaking resilient person. I come out, yes, I did have help granted, but everything else, I started a business. I got into my own place within 3 months, got a brand new car within 3 months. I was rocking it. I was moving forward. My credit went from a 400 to a 730 in 6 months. I was doing fantastic. I was phenomenal. Great. They arrest me on these allegations. I get out of jail. I have to do it all over again. I'm building my credit, getting my own place. I still have my car that I'm paying for with the insurance and all that. Like I am a resilient person, and I take good pride in that because I was raised like that. Like you come from the ashes, you keep going no matter what. And I think that's a testament. I think the courts can't ignore that. Like my lifestyle is a testament to that. Um, they took me down once. They did try to keep me down once. I got out. I got on my feet. I came out. I was on my own, really coming out. I was pretty damn on my own. I had
hmm
to get employment. I had to start my business up again. I had to rebuild my credit. I couldn't do anything. Like it was a nightmare, and I'm still like trying to get out of this nightmare. And hopefully this is the end of it, and I can keep building my credit. You know,
yeah,
keep building my livelihood. Keep building a home, so that by the time I'm able to look back at this decision that I made and look back at all this, taking the plea and whatever, that I did it for something much further down the line that's going to be much bigger than myself. It's like I said, it's about my kids at this point. I love them and I miss them with all my heart.
yeah. They're not much into the kid thing unless it's their own. Then they're concerned about it. But we know, maybe I won't say her name, but she married into the family, and her kids got thrown out to the wolves in a very bad situation, and
Mm-hmm.
they would have been way better off away from their father.
Yeah,
There's a deep dark story to it. I'm sure you know the details, and
yeah, I
just
do.
throwing them away is another testimony to the true integrity of the control and the charade going on. It's not about God. It's about a personal deity of a one man fantasy and this follow follow the leader's word mentality that you just discussed. They follow his every order. And some of the elders have done plenty of disgusting things against people. and they've come up
Hmm.
with their own ideas, and because of they've been under his thing, and all the members, they have this programming, and it's hard to blame them, even though in the moment it does hurt and sting that they all turn on
Yeah.
you the second you walk out the door. Then you're the enemy, but they love bombed you the day you walked on the property. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just it's sad, but I tell you what, there he can skirt around and hide from the law under the nonprofit status, the glory holy worship thing of him, but you can't hide from God, and there's gonna be
Yeah.
justice in the end. He will
Yeah.
pay for it, however we do once we check out of here.
All the things they've swept under the rug over the years, um, things that have actually happened, and people that are still there that with things that have actually happened, that'll all be rectified one day. Not by any human force, but by either the law or God. It'll
Right.
be rectified.
Yeah.
And they'll have to answer for it one way or another. And like I said, I think that's coming very soon. It's right around the corner. I feel it.
Right. Me too.
You know? And I'm playing martyr. I'll be the martyr. You want me to be the Peter of this cult? I'll be the real. I'll be the example of Peter.
The real
I'll take the
Peter.
hit.
Yeah. The only Peter
Yeah.
he ever was is a, you know what? He doesn't
Yeah.
have any past lives. It's so
No.
ridiculous. You base your community on the Urantia book, and you try to say you're bringing a continuation. You know that there is not an inter-universal repersonalization program. You stay local and you ascend up, and there's criteria. But like you said, if there was to be reincarnation, if you were going to do it over again, it would be within your own system. You sure wouldn't
Yeah.
come from another universe. And
No.
the
I mean, I feel like
Satane,
an alien. So at times, I feel like an alien. I mean,
well, yeah,
I think there's definitely some truth to I think the souls being within that universe. But I mean, you know what I mean, like within that local system, like before. Because from what I understand, once you're fused, you're moving on.
right.
So I think if that does happen, it happens on those lower levels. Um, I mean, a finaliter coming back and fusing with a human being, that doesn't make any sense. Why would that have to happen
Yeah,
on an evolutionary world that's on an evolutionary world that's expected to do dumb stuff?
yeah, it doesn't happen. And a
No.
finaliter
So why
who's,
would you have to come back and vindicate a planet?
yeah, you reach that level in your Urantia state that you fuse with your adjuster, then you reach a spirit level and you leave your local universe. You could never be mortal again if you're at a spirit
No.
state. And then once you make
What's people do?
finality, you don't go to Torah as a human, or you don't come to this planet as a human. And that's what makes it
No,
so unbelievable.
it makes absolutely no sense.
But I think he's
Oh
being
my.
used. I won't get into the details, but I think he's being used at the highest level. But he's also playing the game with it. You know,
Yeah,
we've talked about it
I
many
agree.
times.
Yeah, I, I think it's dangerous for any human to think that they're above anybody else. And I don't say that in a relative way because that's not what I'm trying to say. I think I mean I know there is elders, there is a truth to somebody living much more life than you, like an elder. Like, you're 50 years old, you're 70 years old, it's a scientific thing. I mean, you have more life experience in those years than most people. Granted, there are people that experience a lot of life in a very short amount of time. That happens, but there is a truth to somebody knowing pattern. Like when you're older, say you're 50 years old, you look back, you see a 21, you're like, shit, I remember when I was 21 years old thinking like that. I know exactly thought is going to lead to what decision and what's going to be the outcome. Like there's a truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not some like ultra spiritual like freaking clairvoyant witchy woo woo thing. Like me and Josh were just talking about this. Like you just start to recognize pattern as you get older. You know, you can call shit because you've seen different variations of that same behavior and the outcome of that.
Yeah. It's like when your parents discover the bad things you did, and you wonder how could they have ever known. You
Yeah,
know.
like, that's hilarious, right? And then like you think of it and you look back, you're like, no wonder why they knew or like how they like
Yeah.
suspected. You know, like it's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fascinating. You know, and I really do love the process of getting older. And, you know, and now I feel like now that I'm 28 years old, I'm starting to understand a little bit of that. Like when I was 21, 22, I thought I had it figured out. I thought I totally had it figured out. You know, I knew the world, and now that I'm 28, I'm like, I didn't know shit. And I'm sure 10 years from now, I'm gonna be like, damn, I really didn't know shit.
Yeah. It keeps going,
And
and
that's
then you realize, there's too much stuff to know. You just got to be. But like you said, you could pick up on patterns and see, oh yeah, and you can predict it and you can see what's happening. And yeah,
yeah,
in a true teaching of eldership and that have gone before you, there should be a level of respect and all that. But a false, parade, a charade, whatever, under one dictator who gets to decide who the elders are and what their free will is, then it's no longer a true
and that's
eldership.
not for anybody, any human to decide. And like I was saying, like it's important for us to realize that we're all growing, we're all learning, and to humble ourselves to somebody that may know a little more about something than us, and at the same time still keeping an open perspective on like, you know, like understanding that we're going to be there one day, and that we're as we get there, that doesn't mean that we're above anybody. That doesn't mean that we're like somehow they're fucking guru, but just that we're an example for them of what to do or what not to do, what works and what doesn't work, what leads to what, and what state that we're trying to achieve as a species versus like what somebody says we need to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
They're touched by divinity, like you know what I mean, like that's and I don't want, and again that's what I was just I got into this whole discussion with these Christians that were bothering this Hare Krishna guy. Like he was just doing his thing. He was on the corner jamming out with his people. They were giving him such a hard time. I couldn't believe it. And I've spoken to this guy before. He's a cool dude. He's a good human being. He's just trying to live a Krishna lifestyle,
Yeah.
all vegetarian. He's just trying to be a regular dude, in his own way, being a good person. And these Christians were just like, you're going to go to hell and this and that and that and this. And I look at him, like, he recognized me. I'm like, what are they, I'm like, what's going on, buddy? Like, it's like, man, I can't. It's like, it's irrational. It's not, I can't even do it. I'm like, okay, let me call them over here. And long story short, we got into a whole discussion. And what it came down to was I asked them their age. They're like, oh, I'm 21. I'm like, so you got it all figured out. You got all of life figured out, right? Like, this is the answer. This is your running. He's like, yes, because I'm saved by Jesus, and I'm not going to go to hell. I have grace because Jesus is my savior. I'm like, fantastic. I'm like, do you feel like that makes you a better human being to those around you? Absolutely, yes, this and that and that and this. And I'm like, so how do you feel about the Christians over there? What do you think, what's going on? Well, they're a religion and they're this and that. I'm like, so like my dog's on my back. I'm like, so they're a religion. Like, yeah, they're a religion. I'm like, so you're recognizing that he's living a spiritual lifestyle then, right? It's like, yeah. I'm like, so are you casting judgment on him? You're saying that you have the right to cast judgment on him because he's not a Christian? Yeah, absolutely, because God says this and that. I'm like, oh, so you're regurgitating the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, no, I'm not regurgitating. I'm speaking the word. I'm like, you're just saying the same thing I said in different terms. And anyways, long story short, what it came down to was, it came down to him like him recognizing that he was judging me and judging that Krishna dude who was just trying to be a simple dude. He was just trying to live his life the way he sees fit. He's not hurting anybody. In
Right.
fact, I think he may be. I mean, the Krishnas are very docile people. You know what I mean? They're just lacto-vegetarian, Krishna-worshipping people. I don't
Yeah.
see anything wrong with it. Now, for somebody to come and say you're going to go to hell because you're not serving my master, 100% wrong.
Right. And their religion failed them if that's how they're going to treat other people, because they're forgetting the
Exactly.
golden rule and how to treat others and love
And that's
others.
where I got out of the conversation.
Yeah.
That's where I got out of the conversation, was because I said, well, you're being sinful in your God's eyes according to your word, because you are telling me as a human being that I'm going to hell because I'm not following your master. And I'm like, in fact, I've read the Bible front to back, and you casting judgment on me is a sin because God and his son apparently have the right to do that. He's like, well, Jesus speaks through me. I'm like, oh, I just escaped. I just got out of a cult where somebody thought that they had God speaking through them too, brother. Like, wow, you must have celestial powers then, huh? You've heard his voice?
Energy Master.
Yeah, it's like I have to look back on it and laugh because, like, I bet, like, 10 years from now, I'm gonna look back at all this. I'm gonna be with my kids and I'm gonna be a millionaire 10 years from now.
All right. I'll hold
And
you to it.
it's not about money. It's not about money, but it's about the success after the trauma. Like what becomes of us after we go through this trauma that we went through. And there's not just our cult that we had left. There's hundreds of these kinds of groups around the world that play on people's vulnerabilities, completely changes their personality and their image, and it's completely different people. Like they're not the same person anymore. They get formed into what that person or that group says they are, and that's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with the people that are actually within them, the people that they've been. We're not dealing with the actual person that we're looking at. We're dealing with a created personality that they're enacting because they think that that's what they're supposed to be.
And Americans, it's the exact same thing. That's a cult all of its own that's being formulated to fall into that status quo of who they're trying to produce you to be.
Fucking A, right? Fucking
Yeah.
America.
Team America.
Fuck yeah.
Here they
You
come.
could bleep me out. I dropped a couple F-bombs, but yeah, it's freaking hilarious, man.
A few ain't bad. But yeah, I tell you what,
America.
what
Huh?
made me believe some of it from the get-go was I know I was led there by God. And just like you, I
Yeah.
benefited in many ways. I was believing in channeling and stuff, and I wasn't quite ready to open up to the God and Jesus of the Bible. So I had to be forced into that change into the Urantia book teachings and dismissed and know what a fruitcake channelers really are. It's all disinformation and even some of the skills learned there. I got to get advanced studio type stuff because of the equipment that they could afford that I didn't. You know how you walk softly and treat people nice and don't always aggressively attack them. One of the biggest things I regret is doing this even once, bowing to the mandate. I felt so
Me too.
creepy doing that. Every time I did it, it didn't feel natural.
Well, because they're demanding it. It wasn't a natural thing. It wasn't like we're giving respect out of the goodness of or out of our observations for their spiritual endeavors. It's like it was forced. If you
There's a rule.
didn't.
Yep. You have to eat
So
oatmeal this morning, young man. So you eat
yeah,
it and
exactly.
smile.
But I'm just happy. I'm happy that I am out of it, but I'm also happy that I got that experience because then I'm able to see what true narcissism is
Mm-hmm.
and how dangerous it can be if it's unattended, so to speak. If it's not if it's not addressed by the law in a person like that, and it's dangerous. It's very dangerous because it affects many, many, many more lives than are just there. It's families, friends. It's like, they don't think about that. Thousands upon thousands of people have been affected by this organization,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that people don't think about. It's like you can think about the immediate, the nuclear people that are there. There's 120 people, great, but how many people have known those 120 people? How many family members do they have that they've been close with? Um,
And tore them
it's
apart.
much, yeah, it's much further reaching than anybody thinks about right off the bat. And that's what I don't want for my kid when he's there. I don't want him to grow up thinking he's some sort of like extra special spiritual freaking gonna rule the world planet like his mom. God bless his mother. I love her still to this day. And it's weird for me to say that, but it's true. It's true. And I think I have a lot of empathy for her because of how she grew up. There wasn't much room for outside influence. All she knew was what she knew. She was told she was going to rule the planet when she was 9, and so she behaved accordingly and grew accordingly. And unfortunately, it's created this interesting split personality that I've seen in her. This very like warm, caring, genuine um, person. Very, very like it's amazing to me how I've been able to see both sides of that person,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing one very, very like I just explained, that one very, very narcissistic and gaslighting. Like, whoa, like you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Under
that's
the
real.
influence.
That's real. And I think that's why it's so dangerous, because it does cause mental instabilities in people, chemical imbalances that do create actual mental problems, and that we have to all heal from as we leave that place. And you know, there's been plenty of people that have left there that still haven't healed or even tried to start healing because they're stuck in
Right.
that same loop. And it's important that we get out of that loop and that we all help each other heal from it, because it starts with us, and then we can start helping the people around us understand more, help them heal in their process. Like, I'm going through a lot with my family right now. When I left, I didn't talk to my mom or my family for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking destroyed them for that entire. I didn't know what was going on, but I learned after what was going on. It hurt my family and my friends a lot.
Yeah.
I was close to a lot of people, and some more extreme than others, but it was very tough on people. And I have to recognize that, and I have to realize that I have to earn people's trust again. And not just that they have to trust me, because I feel like I have a lot of people's trust, but their trust in my decisions. Luckily, I was able to weather that storm because people did love me as much as I loved them. So there's that factor. I do have a lot of people in my life that still loved me through that bullshit. I'm a
Yeah.
survivor.
Right.
I'm gonna survive this.
And we can upload videos of our experience and expose situations and fraud and just put red flags out. So it's a good way to do it. And like you said, try to heal each other after we've gone through healing.
Yeah.
There's some there's some ex-members running around thinking they're still serving divine administration and that Plaid and CFER are all truth. And
Yeah.
there's a ex-elder doctor that is still promoting Paladin's human lives,
Still.
which are impossible,
Mm,
who happened to
I
just
know.
block me when I confronted him recently. He blocked me from his page, but he's damaged. He was under a lot of control, you know.
I'm gonna survive this. Like I said, my main points I think were all said. Um, yeah, I'm just here to be a survival story that's a success story out of the like a phoenix out of the ashes. That's pretty much what I want to show an example of, like, this is a pretty extreme thing to go through after leaving a cult.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
On top of that,
and yeah, on top of that, so I'm doing my best to keep my head screwed on straight, and growing as a person, and being a productive person in society as best as possible, and being as best as I can, and hopefully being a good enough example to those around me and to my kids, so that they can then pass that on to their people that they get close with, and their relationships and family and friends, and that's what's important to me.
yeah,
If
and
I can be an example for those around me, and if I can make somebody smile every day, then I've done my job.
they wanted to destroy
Yep.
you, ruin you, and make it
Yep.
impossible for you to see your own child.
That's what they do.
Uh-huh. They
you know,
destroy
the
your
video.
life. Yeah. They will destroy
Anyways, yeah,
you if
that's
you
why
don't.
it's my phone done. That's why.
Oh yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Anything else you want to put on the record?
I want to put on the record that anyone out there that's experiencing this kind of thing, if they ever want to, if they're leaving a situation like we left, that there's always support. There's always hope. And no matter what, no matter who you are, what you're going through, um, just look at my story, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that'll help.
All right.
All
Well,
right, brother.
thank you very much for joining us
Thank
tonight
you.
on As the World Turns.
Thank you, brother.
All right.